Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Marianne Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Marianne Pinkston.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston, and this is The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. Welcome in. I am going to share something really beautiful today. I've got a wonderful guest, Brett Aldrich, who is the founder of See the Spirit and is an Ayurvedic healthcare counselor, works with empowering, people, I think, with chronic pain and crisis support, grief, and all sorts of issues that people have that can look at it a perspective from holistic therapies. Now, the holistic world is something I think that much of my audience is interested in. I'm certainly interested. I have been on a long journey. My audience knows me well. Long history of rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune disorders, which I think are funneled down through some post-traumatic stress issues early on, and had a lot of weight gain and weight loss to face, and a lot of interesting things, and found these ideals to be wonderful. I am so glad to have you here. Welcome in, and tell me all about you and what you do and yourself.
Sure, Marianne. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this. Again, my name is Brett Aldrich. I teach Ayurvedic medicine, a holistic medicine indigenous to India. So it's a indigenous medicine and natural medicine. And I also teach therapeutic breathwork, somatic breathwork, circular breathing as well, in addition to other breathwork that's techniques through yoga. My history is long. I've had many experiences working with population in my community, but also outside of my state and in other states, working with survivors of trauma, survivors of loss and grief, and have had my own life experiences as well through the process of learning how to take care of myself, and then now turning around and sharing with others.
Beautiful.
I've learned, yes, and it's just been quite a path, quite an understanding, and it's something that I have found has been a pace that I can work with, and hopefully it's a pace that others can work with as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And I wonder if most people really know what Ayurveda is. So if you could define that.
Sure. It's a real large, broad, deep, vast science and medicine and philosophy. There's so many ways you can face it and look at it. It can be spiritual as well, depending on where you are personally. I usually try the best I can to meet people where they're at in their process and path. So Ayurveda has a great way of adjusting its sails, so to speak, to everybody's needs. It really is about the individual, not necessarily the majority rule, right? So we work with individual needs, their own perspectives. So Ayurveda is based on, it's an indigenous holistic medicine, along with the practices of yoga, which they say Ayurveda is like the sister science to yoga. However, Ayurveda is hard for me to know. I don't know if it's the other way around, depending on when it began. So understandably, it was about 5,000 years ago. It was realized that this was part of our world and how we operate. And one of the big pieces through Ayurveda is that everything is made out of elements. So there's 5 elements, and there's earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which is space. So everything, all of us, every item is made out of elements. So we work with, it kind of like flows together, right? So even though we're solid beings, we're also made out of those same elements. And depending upon the characteristics or what we have more of or less of within ourselves, we work with the world around us to find balance.
Right. So how does somebody then know kind of how to begin with something like this, or know that they need it, maybe is the right way to explain it? Because, contemporary medicine, I'm sorry, I'll interrupt, but contemporary medicine is one that does not look at the individual any longer. It's kind of a business, like a corporate model now. And I think people are starting to look within more now about, homeopathy and alternative medicine, functional medicine, all these different views. This is something that is, I think, entirely important for mind, body, spirit to bring that in and look at the individual. But how does somebody know, what they need?
Sure. What's really interesting, I can just go with my own personal experience. I didn't know I needed it until it showed up in my life.
Right.
So I was I didn't know. I was in maybe denial, maybe uncertainty, and I didn't know it existed. Right. So, I was just, I practiced yoga for the physical benefit, the physical practice of yoga. I was told that, whenever you have ache and pain, yoga's maybe try that. And so that was just my first part. And then one day I just walked into a store and I looked to my left and I saw a little card and it said Ayurveda daily practice, Dinacharya is kind of the description. And it showed you how to take care of yourself just during the day, the 24-hour cycle through the Ayurvedic lens. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to try that and see what happens. Sure. So I just started doing it. And after, I don't know, not that long, I was like, this is actually I do feel better. Mm-hmm. And so I can say that usually if it falls into your life in some way, shape, or form, sure, you probably could benefit. So to look into it. The other is if there's something going on where you're getting assistance for it through, your practitioner or anything, which again, please go. However, at the same time, if something's just not quite right, usually it's just sort of like, yes, I know everything seems fine and I'm being told that I'm fine, but something's not right. Something's still not right. Like there's something within you or something was within me too. Like something just doesn't feel right. And that's when I started looking. And this is where I found it. And Ayurveda was a piece of it. So usually it is like your inner, your soul or your spirit or something saying inside, even though like they're saying health wise, I'm fine. Something's not quite right. And usually that's when people start looking.
Yeah, there's a connection there to be made. I think you go through, young, knowing that, you need to look to others for answers. And we do. And we look at all different, we look at providers, we look at counselors, we look at friends, we look at religion, we look at different places. And when it begins, the connection sometimes just isn't made. That's how I felt at some point, that I thought, maybe it is just within me. Maybe there is a place in me instead of looking out, something within. I don't know if you share, if that's kind of what you're describing. It sounds like that's what you're describing.
Yes. And a big piece of it too is if you can, the process is to find balance, right? It's about balance first, and then the healing happens inside, right? The body has this innate want to heal. Our body does love us. It does love us unconditionally and communicates with us through these symptoms and through these things that are happening with us. And when we start getting to know how we operate our systems, including like the elements and how we work with the world around us, usually what ends up happening is there starts to be a balance, and then there's a mind-body connection as well. And then you see some healing. Now, there may not be a cure. Right? I can't cure being a human being, right? We live here. However, we can do the best we can to allow us to have some balance and then have some healing occur within. And the body wants it. And if it wasn't meant to heal, it wouldn't heal, right?
You make a great point. Absolutely. Because again, looking outside, we expect that there's something wrong with the body. So we need something outside to put in, medication, a supplement, something to right or wrong. And really the body it has what it needs to heal. Just nurture, nourish, all those things. And it does, it catches. You said that very, very well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel it, I do feel it. And once we know how we are and who we are, and there's an acceptance in some level, shape, or form. There are emotional and characteristics as well with people with elements. Once we understand how these elements work and the characteristics of each element, it brings on another level of understanding and acceptance of who we all are. And once we know when we're in balance or not in balance, we can see those signs, we can catch it. And instead of blaming outside, we're like, this is just my nature. So I'm definitely missing something today. Like I'm definitely in need of something to help me myself. And it acquires that knowledge and understanding, which creates some wisdom and personal practices, as you know yourself better.
Yes.
That you just take on and start to feel better in general. And I think other people notice that there's a balance as well.
Sure. They notice your energy and how things
absolutely. Yes.
And so it's interesting too, once that changes what you attract then, you attract different, I guess, circle of people around you and blessings. And it's actually beautiful. Can you describe a little bit more about how the elements, work with the body and kind of what you mean by all that?
Yes, absolutely. I can describe. So for example, there's, ether and air, right? So ether and air are light, airy, spacious. It's mobile. It's movable. It can be cold. So we're here in Maine, where I am in New England. It's very cold here right now. And the description is that as such: cold, hard, rough. And those are the characteristics of ether and air. And also it's a energy center. So we call it Vata. So Vata is a piece of this as well. So Vata is air and ether combined. It's an energy center, and it creates movement within the body as well. So our bodies can take on those same characteristics. So if we have a lot of this ether air element going on in the Vata type of characteristics or description, we will try to utilize other things within us or outside of us to balance that out. Because if there's a lot of mobility and if there's a lot of cold and roughness, it can create imbalance and dysfunction in your systems. So we try to use warming things, sturdy, stable lifestyles or food even, to balance that out. So we also have, the other descriptions or energy centers, or the essence of these two is there's fire and water, which is what we call Pitta. Mm-hmm. And so fire and water together create, an energy or essence or function. And that is like hot, oily sometimes. And it transcends, changes things. So burns things up, but also can be an alchemy, which can transform things. And then there's another one where it's earth and water, which is called Kapha or Kapha, some people say. So each energy, each has its own function and also has its own characteristics. So and this is how it is in the world, right? So earth and water is very heavy, stable, cool. And in personality can be, they're very loving and comforting, but at the same time can be like heavy and hold you down. And there can be stagnancy as well. So there's, right. So if there's too much of one, you try to pull back and utilize the other elements or utilize the other doshas to create a balance and a function and a flow within and on the outside. So that is kind of how it works too as well. You utilize the characteristics and you choose life practices even. Music even has, characteristics and support too as well. Singing, chanting, dancing, or laying down still. Right? All have their function and all have their characteristics. And so we choose accordingly if we feel that we need some support. So I'm hoping that kind of gives you a pretty good description.
Yeah. And you mentioned it's 5,000 years old and based from India. So what is the history?
Sure. Oh, goodness. So 5,000 years ago, right?
Loaded question.
That's so great. Well, I do the best I can to describe that. It's based on this understanding of, so 5,000 years ago, there was a rishi who realized that this was in existence. And there was this thing called Sankhya philosophy, which is a philosophy of how things are created. So based upon the Sankhya philosophy, there's about 24 elements, okay, based on that, which is the consciousness, all things, everything, okay, whether you see or don't see it. And then it trickles down towards getting smaller and smaller and smaller, more into the gross matter of you and me. And when we go there, it becomes the 5 elements and our 5 senses. Okay. So it's not only what we see, what it is, but it's also what we see, feel, taste, smell, and hear.
Right.
So that's kind of where it goes. And then it gets bigger again, right? Because there's yoga itself, the yoga philosophy and the practice itself, which is, life practice and the physical practice as well. Mm-hmm. So it becomes big again. Right. And expands towards, there's the Hindu understanding too as well. That is a factor. However, it's not the only thing part of it, but it is a big piece as well in India specifically. So for me personally, I find it as a great foundation because it can, if you go to the elements only and you go to that foundation alone, it relates to most, if everything around us. Wow. And that's kind of where it goes from there. So that's kind of a thumbnail sketch.
A lot of people, I think, confused about what yoga is because it's an exercise. It's a way to relax, a way to stretch, right? But there's so much more. There's so much more to it than it's a practice.
Yes, and when we originally, learned of yoga, the original position and the only position long ago was being seated, sitting in meditation.
Right. Okay.
And it developed from there. Right. So as our world changes, the yoga practices changed as well.
Right.
To better support us as humans, because we went from living in the world, just on our 2 feet, tending to our farm or our own food, right? We grew our own, like back then. And now, it's less. We're sitting a little bit more. Our lifestyle is a little bit different. So according to Ayurveda, it's still continuously shifting and changing. And other things are being created, or we're finding the elements elsewhere to better support ourselves as we change as humans, to better support us. Or we'll get to the point where we're like, well, maybe I need to make some real serious changes and really change how I do and behave, so I can better serve myself.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
This may be kind of an odd question, so forgive me. But, I think the view of the world now is in a spin. I mean, we are inundated now with worldly news and worldly affairs, and the onset of AI and all the fear and things that cause people, I think, to look at the world as a degrading place. Is there a place with Ayurveda that allows people to see things more positively and to work themselves away from that? I feel like that's a huge missing piece in society. I'm sure you agree.
Yes, it's this is my experience, and that's the only one I can really give you. My experience is Ayurveda allows you to understand, gives you this opportunity to practice your life as what we call a householder. Okay. Mm-hmm. We live here on this earth. This is the reality of what's going on. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is what's happening. So how can you hold yourself centered during times of chaos?
Right.
Right. So
thank you. And
it's really challenging to have conversation with because some people are really, really struggling and suffering. And, I can't be like, hey, it's a challenge to really say. However, this is a practice of finding your whole self within. We're already whole, right? It's just reminding ourselves and having that realization that we are whole and that we are here in the center. How can we stay firm within ourselves while all of this is happening? These emotions are true. These things are happening. It is about being here with our 2 feet on the earth at this time for whatever reason we are. I don't know why. We just are, right? So fully in acceptance of the reality and truth of what's going on and being able to be whole within it.
Well said.
It's tough.
It is tough. It is. I had a lovely patient that's been with me a very long time. really, I walked into the room. She was very tearful. She'd just been on her phone, scrolling with social media and seeing the news. And she was tearful, just no hope whatsoever for humanity. I thought, you're at your appointment, we're discuss something at you. And if that is what is really affecting you, that is very deep and very big and bigger than us. So, to have a discussion like that would be so helpful for someone. She was very, very emotional. And so, yes, it affects people. So we will probably take a short break here in just a moment. But I want to talk a little bit about breath work, because I know that is something else that you work with, and then also about how you work with people in your practice and all. So I do want people to know where they can find you. You have, your website. If you are on YouTube, there is a QR code that you can see and look you up. And also at the bottom, at the bottom, you can find my website, drpbetterlife.com, where you will be on, and I will represent you there so people can find you. But please tell us where people can find you.
Absolutely. You can find my website. It's seedthespirit.com. And that is where most people usually tend to find me. If you would like to have a conversation through a 20-minute conversation, I have a free consultation available for anyone to connect with me. You can email me as well, all lowercase, brett.seedthespirit@gmail.com as well. You can reach me that way. I am on social media. I'm not on social media as much as you can connect me the other way. However, I still am there. It is on Facebook and Instagram. And you can reach me there through Seed the Spirit as well. And that is on there if you'd like to connect with me in that way. Yeah.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Well, we are going to take a short break and take a look at Magna Pharmaceuticals, who has been very supportive of me, and I appreciate. So we'll be right back.
Depression, anxiety, low energy, weakness, these are just some symptoms of low B12 levels. And the absorbable B12 folate supplement that's helping people declare victory over depression symptoms is De Novo Plus B12 by Magna Pharmaceuticals. Patients with symptoms of depression often exhibit low levels of folate and vitamin B12. The human body needs sufficient folate intake to produce the essential neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters alleviate feelings of sadness, anxiety, and gloom. What makes De Novo Plus B12 so successful? De Novo Plus B12 contains readily absorbable folate and B12. That means it's more successful at correcting the root cause of your deficiency, not just the symptoms. Whether you are suffering with low energy, depression, fatigue, or anxiety, you owe it to yourself to learn more at magnaweb.com. That's magnaweb.com. Please let us know at checkout that you heard about De Novo Plus B12 on The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston here with Brett Aldrich, and we are discussing Ayurvedic medicine. Seed the Spirit. Seedthespirit.com is where you can find out some more information. Before we took a break, I mentioned the breath work. And this is something I find very, very important. I teach a lot in my practice. I'm sure you're better at it, and I would love to hear your approach and describe also why it's so important.
Thank you. Yes, this was for me the missing puzzle piece. There's so many things we can do. There's tools that we have, Ayurvedic tools, in order to create balance within. However, sometimes when we're doing these practices, there's still something else that's just kind of like dangling, that's waiting, that needs to be let go of, or something in the body that we're still not quite sure of. And sometimes intellectually, cognitively, we understand things and we move forward in that manner and try to assist people in that way. However, sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we're not sure. And for me, I did feel on a personal level and professional level that breathwork was a missing piece in addition to Ayurveda and these practices. Now, there's two different kinds. Well, there's two that I can speak of. The yogic pranayam, that is breath work, that it has function to it. There's some control with it. There's teachings of like this, there's different ways and different kinds of breath work through pranayam, through yoga. Then this other one that I also teach is more of a cyclical, less controlled, more in the flow. It is more of a somatic practice, so it goes deep within the body and the tissue. So we are utilizing oxygen as a potent medicine. So instead of food, instead of, life practices, we utilize the oxygen and the breath as the medicine. And a lot of the times, there's a lot of people that say a lot of stuff is stored in the body, not necessarily the mind. Sometimes the body can trigger the mind as well.
Sure.
So if there's something stuck in the body, that's where this breath work, this piece can also assist. There's many other somatic practices out there too that are wonderful. This is just the one I know and the one I teach. So basically it is a breathing technique where you breathe in and out of your mouth only. And it is almost like you're connecting the breath one after the other. So we're flooding the body with oxygen. So it's a little bit different. It's a little less controlled, and it's more letting go of the mind and going straight into the body.
Nice.
And then over time, we hope is that wherever this and we don't tell it where to go, right? So that's kind of what it is, oxygen. The prana or chi or whatever you decide to call it, goes to where it needs to go, goes to where there's a blockage, goes to where there's something, and tries to feed it, right? Or let go of it. And some people, and we do it lying down or we do it wherever you're comfortable. And it is designed for people that, for everyone really technically, if physically you're well enough, but at the same time, if there's something specific that you've been working on and you're just like, I'm just still not making any headway with this, and I'd like to try something different. This is another tool. It's another opportunity to let go and release anything that's holding you back. Sometimes I work with people, they're like, geez, I really worked with this before, and I thought I was over it. I thought I was done with it. Right. And then they're like, but you know what? It came up again. And I was able to release something that I didn't know was there. Wow. So a lot of time, this kind of somatic work, specifically this breath work, is another piece to these practices. And that is what I teach. We do the best we can to let go of the mind while this practice is going on, to get into the body, to create and process something that we just forgot about maybe, or the body can't forget, right? Or doesn't want. Yeah,
it's a process. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people expect that. I think we live in a world where we have, kind of instant gratification, thoughts of instant gratification often, and wants and desires of it. But, breath work is interesting, and it does take some time. People don't realize under stressors, whatever, physical stressors, mental stressors, spiritual, stressors, that it takes time. The body's been living under survival mode for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And it takes time for the body to work through that and let go. And so I'm assuming that you definitely work with people on that level to try to help them understand it's a process. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And also through Ayurveda, which was a great help for me too, as well, to remind me that, we want to go as slow as possible. Sure. So a lot of times when we work too fast or mm-hmm. try to fix something too quickly, it can create more disease.
Right.
So a big piece of it as well is to make sure we're taking our time with people that we're working with, because the human being not only is strong, but is also very sensitive. We're very complex beings. We want to live simply. However, our body is so unique and so defined and so refined that, we want to make sure that we're taking our time and going slowly, because if we do something too quickly, it could be sent somewhere else, right? And we want to make sure that the body and the mind and those around us also are ready for this process. So we do want to make sure we're kind and cautionary. And sometimes, I work with people, I don't see much progress at first. However, when we're done, sometimes, a few years pass. Like I live where I work, so I'm grateful I see people, and, time passes, and then, they're like, you know what? I didn't do what you recommended. However, I'm doing it now.
Right.
And it's actually starting. So it really, giving the information is what it is. And if they don't do it right away, at least they know.
Right.
So in time, people start doing it when they're ready.
Absolutely. Oh, that's well said. Thank you. That is very important. That happens in all areas, I think, of medicine, religion, everything else. So it's beautiful. Well, I would love for people to know they can get in touch with you and work with you. Is this correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Yes, I do one-on-one work, whether through, internet or in person. And I do group work too as well in person here where we are. I've yet to span out to groups online. However, someday right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're building as well. That's a process too, I tell you.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one thing that that our pandemic did for us, and that was create a level of being able to do things from telemedicine. So you can practice this telemedicine, or not telemedicine, but telehealth.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And it's funny. Both breathwork and also Ayurveda, we are able to do this practice with people and teach online and in person as well. It is the sign of the times. And I'm grateful for that too, because if people that are local too, that can't leave their home, it gives them the opportunity to receive the healing as well. So it really has opened up some people's doors too that typically wouldn't be able to be present for things like this. So that's been nice as well.
Absolutely. Well, very good. Well, I really appreciate you being on this morning and explaining all of this so that people understand. Where can we find you?
Again, yes, you can find me here in Maine. My office here is in South Portland, Maine. I also have my website, seedthespirit.com. You can reach me there and contact me through email, or also I do a 20-minute free consultation, and you can reach me again, brett.seedthespirit@gmail.com. If you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them or have a conversation.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And you will be represented on the website too for drpbetterlife.com. And you can find all of our social media, website, and everything there as well. And so I appreciate you so much. Any final words, anything we missed?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Keep on going until then. Yeah, that's right.
Said, just keep swimming.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I truly appreciate you being on today. Thank you. And everybody, take care of each other out there. Have a good week.
You've been enjoying The Better Life with Dr. Marianne Pinkston. For more information, go to drpthebetterlife.com. That's drpthebetterlife.com. And listen next week for The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.